Hi everyone, Dan Cosley here with a medium-length lesson on the Segovia scales and improvisation. I'm going to look at the first Segovia pattern, the C major scale. It's a 2-octave pattern that looks like this. Now you might learn this in positions, like we're in second position, we play the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we're in fifth position, and we play the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, I would back that up and look at that in slow motion if you don't know the scale. If you do know the scale, follow me on this. So my idea about scale practice is that there is some value in just playing the scales up and down with as much kind of uniformity and precision as possible. But the real benefit to your musicianship comes when you start to improvise within the context of the scale. In this video, I want to touch on a bit of how you can go about kind of opening up more creativity in scale practice. So of course you can just play random notes within the patterns, but a good starting point is to start to play things like this. Now, these are established patterns as well, so they're not getting you to improvisation, but you're going a step beyond just reciting the scale up and down. So something like this, vocalists will do this sort of thing. And you'll notice that when I play that pattern, I'm still playing 4 notes on the 3rd string, just like Segovia did. But I'm going to shift according to what the pattern necessitates. Once I'm up here, I might go slightly outside of the original Segovia scale, come up into 7th position to get the note D. And then as I come down, I might play the note B, which is the leading tone back. So essentially I've got the exact same Segovia scale pattern on the fingerboard, but I've got the note B, which is the leading tone right below the lowest root, and then I've got this 2nd or 9th, the note D, just because of that little thirds vocal warm-up type pattern. Now, as you know, or as you can imagine, there are many other kind of melodic patterns that people put through scales. One that I like to practice would be by the way, when I get up here, I might do a little half bar if I need to get those notes in the pattern on the same fret, you know, on several strings. But a pattern like this, I'll play it again slowly. I go up 3 notes, do, re, mi, and then I return to the first note. Then I start on the 2nd note of the scale and I go up 3 notes. And I come down a 3rd to the 2nd note of the scale. Then I start on the 3rd note of the scale. So already we've got like 3 ways to play the Segovia scales, but we're still just playing patterns. We're not really improvising yet, but we're trying to establish a sort of fluidity in the way that we think about that pattern on the fretboard that Segovia devised. And at a certain point, you'll become bored with this, and then you'll start to just maybe randomize or explore pathways through the scale. And so these could be all sorts of things. I'll demonstrate just some melodic improvisation. The thing I'm trying to do is be musical and melodic and do something interesting, but I'm trying to stick to Segovia's kind of map for C major on the fretboard. So I won't go outside of his mapping of the scale at all, but I'll definitely do a lot of things that aren't merely running the scale up and down. So yeah, I'll just improvise a little bit with the scale. slightly bluegrassy kind of thing or something, because I'm really just sticking to the tones of the major scale. Let me comment on what I just did a little bit to give you some ideas about how you might do something similar in your own practice. So I kind of lied when I said that I was going to stick only to Segovia's mapping. There were moments there, you may have noticed, where instead of playing this note A on the 3rd string, I played it here on the 4th string. Or I think I even played, at one point I played D here, I think, which is not within Segovia's fingering for that scale. He plays the D here. So that kind of speaks to the importance of knowing so-called equivalent fingerings. And this can be done by ear. There are mathematical ways to think about it. But the way I learned this growing up was just finding similar sounds. You know, I play D, I try to find it here. And of course it's a little thicker sounding here, or up here even. And of course these are all like different orchestrations for that note. Because the thickness and the material of the strings gives it a different tone color. Another thing I want to point out is, even though I'm really thinking about melodies, I can imply more than one voice by letting certain notes ring over. So one of the things I did a few times, I think, is I held a note and then I maybe played a second voice against the sustained voice. Even let like an interval of a second overlap, or the interval of a fourth. And at that point, you're getting almost a sense of two voices in dialogue. At any rate, I hope this is helpful. I want to encourage everyone who plays classical guitar to do some improvisation, and I want everyone who improvises and plays maybe jazz music or improvised music to look at the classical tradition. I think it's important that we in our mind, we appreciate what makes these genres distinct, but we also understand that it's all music, and that maybe those lines of delineation that we make are a little bit artificial and not necessarily all that meaningful from a purely musical standpoint. I think there's both camps can learn, a lot from one another. And this is one way that I go about in my practice, sort of exploring jazz within the context of classical, or classical stuff within the context of jazz. Every Thursday, I'm going to be doing a Patreon class now, a live class every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. And I'm going to focus on classical technique and Études. And I'm going to stick to the well-established, mainstream stuff like the Segovia scales, Fernando Sor, Carcassi, all of the things like Aguado and Cost and Brouwer, the things that make up the real kind of bedrock of classical technique on the instrument. And I hope you'll join me by checking out the Patreon link in the description and letting people know. Also, it's really helpful if you subscribe to the channel. I know that probably less than 10% of the viewers of the channel are actually subscribed, and it makes a huge impact in my ability to continue doing this and develop this channel and my various platforms. So thanks for checking this out, and happy practicing.